Welcome, welcome, everybody. Oh, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thursday today for our from NCCE. We had the amazing Eileen Heller. Hey, Eileen,
Hi, Holly.
how's it going? You having a great Thursday?
It is a beautiful, blustery winter day. Yes. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm over here on the East Coast in Florida. We're enjoying this amazing little sunset. And where are you coming from today?
I'm coming from a cold 3-degree high here of Omaha, Nebraska. So I'm pretty jealous of that sunset in Florida.
Well, you're freezing and I'm over here sweating, but I'm so excited for today's session. Oh my gosh. So Teams is definitely, being used across the district and globally more and more. I've been loving those Teams commercials as well. Do you get excited when you see them on TV?
I'm so excited and all the new updates that they just announced that are coming in 2021.
Yes, yes. So, but today you're speaking to my heart because if anybody knows me, I love some great stations, differentiated stations, and that's what you're going to be talking to us about today, right?
Yes, it is. We're gonna blend it up here with some blended learning and station rotations. So, ready for us to go ahead?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Hey, well, it's definitely a unique time. So join us for this ride, a quick little session here. Just real quick, I'm Eileen Heller. I am an instructional technology trainer here in Omaha, Nebraska. And I also am a professional learning specialist with NCCE. And so I'd love to take the experiences that we're gaining here in the district and spread it across the world to other people. It just is a great way to build up. And in my side time, I love spending time with my boys, and one's in kindergarten, one's in fourth grade, and my husband's a teacher. So on those remote learning days, it's a whole house of learning going on remotely. We're going to kick it off tonight. I love to ground us and kind of put a frame around our thinking tonight with starting with that essential question. And I want you to think about, how can we build social and academic connection opportunities for students? And it's such a timely topic because we build social and academic connections for our students in a classroom all the time, but we're in a unique situation where across the globe, we have all different things happening. We have completely remote learning students. We have students that are coming in maybe 2 days a week, 3 days a week. We have physical students in front of us. We have some teachers out there that are teaching the remote students as they're teaching the physical students. So those connections are never more important than they are right now for your students that are maybe remote, along with the students that are physically in your classrooms. Hopefully you'll gain something no matter what for this, but those connections are critical. And I just want to kind of back ourselves up a little bit. And I'm going to frame everything around the blended learning strategies. And if it's a little bit new, I just want you to think about, what do you know about blended learning? Blended learning can sometimes get that phrase in education where we hear it so often that we're not really sure what it is. So let's just kind of start there, quick little background on it. And then how would we maybe imagine it in an online or hybrid classroom environment? So with blended learning, there was some opportunity for students to work online at some point. And there's different models, but some like to do it in a station rotation model or a flipped learning model. And another part of it is that the student has some control over their pace, their path, their time, along with the teacher facilitating it. Well, that's something that we saw in classes before anybody went remote. And it might look like something like this. You would have one group of students working independently, maybe on some math fact fluency. You'd have another group working at their seat on an independent activity. You'd have another group working with the teacher, maybe on an intervention skill that they're working on, some reteaching, some enrichment. And then you'd have maybe another one doing a collaborative or an individual activity going on. So what can we do if we wanted to make that a part of an online learning or a hybrid learning environment? That's what we're going to look at tonight. And when we're doing that, we're also going to keep in mind, how could we connect the students? Could we connect in those station rotations, a student that's right in front of you physically in your class with a student that's out remote? Or could you connect students within your classroom that for distance learning can't get really close to each other, but could they connect, turn off their mic, turn off their the speaker part, put on some headphones, maybe interact through a program with each other? Or can you do some sort of group collaborative project? So we're going to kind of frame that. And one of my favorite thought leaders in education is Catlin Tucker. I'm currently reading her book, Blended Learning in Action, and I've been kind of eating up her blog posts and her webinars because she really has given some guidance to teachers on how could you do blended learning in social distancing. And this would be an example of what she's suggesting for station rotation during distance learning. So you might have your teacher-led station where you're doing that small group, the reteaching, giving them feedback. You might have an online station for students and they're kind of doing some personalized practice or collaboration with one another. And then you might even give them an offline station, needing maybe a screen break, or maybe that's their time to do some writing or do an experiment, or maybe just have a small group discussion. And then over on the right side, you can see that group 1, group 2, group 3 would rotate through those stations. What I love about blended learning is it does not have to look the same. I teach a course for one of our local universities. I have a 3-hour class that we typically met face-to-face. It's now online. I'm pulling in the blended learning. We're going to do some station rotations and it's all going to be virtual. So nobody gets to meet face-to-face due to the restrictions, but we're going to be doing those small groups. And I think it's just going to be really powerful because we can have smaller group discussions. I'm going to lead a group through some heavier content that I want to help them through and get their responses from. So it's just great because you can be flexible. You could do 1, 2 groups, you could do 3 groups, you could do 4 groups. They could be all online, they could be collaborative. I have some independent work going on in mine. And then she even mentions when you're first getting started, maybe you do the flip-flop. Half your class with you, half the class doing something together in a smaller group. So let's see, how could we do this with some of our technology tools? What Catlin Tucker provides, and I have these links here available for you also, is for English, math, and science on her website. She gives ideas of what might be happening in those stations. So in that teacher-led one, she shows step 1, step 2, step 3. She's showing in the online station different options that you could provide for the students. So whatever makes sense for you, this just happens to be a math one, but the link right there, check that out if you want to go see how she suggests or gives ideas for designing other station rotations. But what I want to dive into is more of the how would you build that? How would you do it in an online environment? Before we jump any further though, Holly, can I quick check in? Did anybody ask any questions or provide comments that you want to share from just that quick review of blended learning?
You know what? We're just over here loving all this information that you're sharing. And also, something that was pointed out was, you know what? It doesn't always have to be exactly the same. The stations can be different throughout each day. It may look different. And so, right now, oh, Sally's here saying hello from Idaho. But yeah, we're excited to go ahead and continue hearing how you are going to make these stations work and what they could look like.
Okay, let's check it out. So one of the ways that you can do it is in Microsoft Teams new breakout rooms. These came out to public release in December. If you haven't had the chance to check them out, please do. I do have a tutorial video here on this slide, but also on the last slide as a resource, because I'm going to just kind of show you the setup real quick, and then you're going to want to try it and practice it and jump into it. And one thing, just like when you're learning something new, your students need to be taught, modeled, and given time to understand how they should work in a small group. So don't forget to make that part of your first lesson or first focus of those groups, is making those connections. And some of my teachers always say, oh, my students get in there, but they won't talk to each other. Have them ready with what they're going to talk. Give them some time to quietly reflect, maybe jot down some notes, give them one question, send them out there to that breakout room for just a quick 5 to 7 minutes, then pull them back. So there's a few little ideas as we go along. One thing that I want to do before this setup is really help you understand. We're going to go into a Microsoft team. I'm going to show you where I've scheduled the meeting. But because I scheduled it, I'm the organizer. We're going to use Microsoft Teams, but as the organizer, I am the only one that can set up the breakout rooms right now. And the other key thing to this is that you have to use the desktop application for this to work for you as the organizer. So I'm on a Windows device. and I'm using the full Teams application. And then I've done it on my Mac device, full Teams application. I right now cannot set up a breakout room when I'm in the web view or on the iOS device. I have to have one of the other ones. They're coming, it's going to come eventually. And the organizer schedules the meeting, and they need to make sure it's scheduled and not a meet now. Now there's two types. When I jump into the demo, you're going to see that I can make an automatic one where the participants just randomly go to any room. I just quickly say 24 students, give me 4 rooms, boom, send them. Nice and quick. It doesn't matter to me who's together. Great for icebreakers, great for a quick exit ticket discussion. But sometimes you want to be very strategic about which students go into which rooms. That's where you want the manual. You are going to need to kind of plan that out, set it up, get ready to do it. For my class that I'm teaching at a college level, I have my groups already prepared and ready to go based off of specific needs that I know they'll have. Now, once you're in there, I'm going to show you some of these other tips that are along the way, but every policy that your district sets up is how the policy is going to be in those breakout rooms. For example, if your policy is set that students cannot be presenters by default, they go into your meetings without presenter rights, they're attendees, then when they go to the breakout room, they will not have presenter rights. You have to go in there and assign presenter rights, or assign that everyone in that room can have presenter rights. So I have some of those tips on this slide. Let's get into the demo. So here I am in a Microsoft team. Now you might be familiar with Teams, but a quick little review is I do have some channels on the side. Channels are also a place that you can do breakout rooms. I like to use channels when I'm doing a breakout room and I'm giving students choice. Hey, you know what? Group 1, you're the ones that are going to want a little more work from me with me as the teacher, some reteaching. If you need that, come to group 1. If you feel like you want to work with a small group and maybe just ask questions when you need help, that's group 2. If you think you need some quiet time and you're really going to be working independently and only need help maybe very infrequently, you can jump over to group 3 during our work time. That would be when you would use the channels and send them out to the channels. But what I want to show you is the ability to do the breakout rooms and schedule it and have more control as a teacher. So what you will need to do is schedule the meeting. I have a meeting that I scheduled in our general channel, and I'm going to join that meeting, and I have 4 students that I've already kind of set up and put into that meeting. For the purpose of not ruining the event going on, I'm going to join with everything turned off. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it. So what you're seeing is my 4 sample students and me as the teacher in this meeting. And what you're going to look for is right up at the top is this new little tool that came out in December called Breakout Rooms. If you don't see it, double check. Were you the organizer? Are you on the full desktop application? And if you still don't see it, then double check if maybe you need to update your Teams application. But that breakout room area is where you as a teacher have control. Now, the first thing I could say is, you know what? I'm going to automatically send them into breakout rooms. And I think I'm just going to do 2 breakout rooms. They're going to do a quick pair share. I'm going to create those rooms. And they're not sent yet. What it opens up to on the right side then is my pane as the organizer to manage those breakout rooms. So let's take a look at some of the things that you can do in there. In the 3 dots, you can recreate the rooms. I'll be doing that because I want to show you the manual. I can go into the room settings and I can say that the automatically move participants to rooms. I'm going to do that one. Participants can return to the main meeting area. Well, if I'm in the main meeting area and they need my help, I could turn that on. And then a couple other things that are going to be really helpful for you is you can add more rooms. And in just a little bit, I can start my rooms. And then over here, I can go into the 3 dots next to the rooms that they put in there. And I'm going to rename the room. And I'm going to say room number 1 is where we're going to be doing a little bit of reteaching. Or I could say this is going to be the teacher station, if I can type that. Then I could keep renaming them, or I could just have a slide up that shows them. Room 1 is this, room 2 is this. I typically just put it on a slide. And then below it, when I click on this little icon next to it, I can see it's sending out number 55 and 56 are going to go there. Number 58 and 59 are going into the next room. At any time, I could say, you know what, this one, I want to assign them into a different room. So all of your controls are right here in that organizers area. And then you can click start the room. The students will go out. Now let's try it one more way before I actually start a room. Let me recreate the room. And this time I want to be very intentional about it. I'm going to manually select which rooms they're going into. I'm going to create 2 breakout rooms because I want them working as partners. They're going to create the rooms this time, but they're not going to assign my students. And so what I need to do is this room is empty and this room is empty. So I'm going to click up here where it says assign participants, and it will expand out and I can select, let's say I'm going to take these 2 students and I'm going to assign them to room 1, and I want these 2 students to partner. And what's nice is they kind of pop out the students once you've put them in there. Same thing, you can rename, you can rearrange them. And then I'm going to give them their directions, their tasks. I'm going to tell them what they're discussing. I'm going to start those rooms up, and they're going to be sent out to those rooms. Now, here's what happens to me. As the organizer, I do not go to those rooms. I am right here still in the main session. I have had some students where their Teams application is outdated, and so it didn't send them. What I can do is I can, as an organizer, I can go join one of those rooms. So I'm going to go join room number 1. And then if that happens, you can go into the participants and you can go call the student that didn't get pulled into it. And then I can leave this room. And then I can resume the call in the main session, and I can jump over now and I can go check out room number 2. I can also come up here at the top and I can make an announcement. I can say rooms will be closing in 1 minute if I want to say. And that, when I send it, will go out to all of the rooms. So I'm ready to bring all of my students back. I'm going to close the rooms. They're going to all return to the meeting. It gives them 1 minute to return. Oh, maybe a little bit quicker right there. And what's nice about it is it keeps those same groups together. So maybe you're going to come back, give a little more direction. Sometimes I like to do a station rotation where we have about 2 or 3 minutes that we all come back as a large group. We talk a little bit about what was shared. Maybe I give some more directions or some clarifications, and then I send them back out. So that is breakout rooms in Microsoft Teams. So let's take a look a little bit more at some tips for you as far as the station rotation. So one of my tips, I did love creating it in my class team because it invites all the students and I don't have to type all their names in. You can create a breakout room just in a normal calendar in Teams. So maybe if you're having a parent night and you want to do breakout rooms, or you're working in a staff meeting, that works great too. And just a reminder, if a student doesn't get pushed to the breakout room, go in there and try to call them into the room you need them in, and then help them get that Teams application updated. I love the Cult of Pedagogy podcast. I listen to it quite often. She has an amazing blog post. She blogs the post, then she does the podcast about it. And this is Jennifer Gonzalez, and she sent out a Twitter post that said, hey, teachers, what do you do to make breakout rooms great for small groups? And these were the key things that people shared back. Make sure that you assign roles. Give people what the facilitator should be doing, the note taker, the timekeeper. Provide resources for them, whether it's in a PowerPoint. That's one of my favorite ways. Some teachers use OneNote notebooks for it. Make sure that they have all those links somewhere that they can easily get to, because they don't want to always have to go back to the main room to get it from the chat. And then tasks to see what they're working on. If you're going to ask them to collaborate, give them a collaborative document. If you're going to ask them to discuss something, give them some time to maybe jot their ideas down or put it on a Padlet before they go in and talk about it, to make it a little more likely that they will talk about it. And then the other one a lot of teachers said is that 3 to 4 students is probably the best whenever you're really going to have like a discussion or a collaboration project. But some teachers are doing one breakout room per student so that they can do a writing conference with them, or 2 partners to connect a student that's maybe out in remote learning with a student that's in the physical classroom, and they're doing their pair share with each other when the teacher asks them to turn and talk normally. So check that out. She has some great ideas in there. And as we're wrapping this up, I included the webinar. I think my videos might start to play here. Catlin Tucker's webinar right here, Teaching in a Concurrent Classroom, is an amazing one. And then breakout rooms right here is the one that I just demonstrated. Teams, channels, breakouts. If I maybe made oh, you know what? I know exactly what the problem is there. That's my own demonstration, and it was working for me because it's living in our stream account. That one's not there. So teams, channels, breakouts, that would have shown you how to make a channel within Microsoft Teams. So let's jump out.
I'll be showing breakout rooms in Microsoft Teams.
There we go. So let's jump in. Any other questions out there, Holly, of that quick demo or something about blended learning and some station rotations?
I mean, we are all just in awe of the tips and the tricks that you shared with us. I mean, it just made a few of us start thinking, like, how long did it take for, you to do these breakout sessions, like, and make them successful? Like, is it going to be the first time, or should they keep at it?
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to tell you that my teachers in the district have been doing it, and me doing a station rotation at the college level even is just this. I haven't done it. My class is coming up in 2 weeks. I have it all planned out, but I will tell you on that one, so the way that I love that Catlin Tucker talks about this is, instead of planning out your lesson vertically, we'll do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do this, is do it horizontally. And so that's what I had to do, is I had to redesign that 3 hours of content into station rotations. And in a classroom teacher, I'm working with some teachers right now in their math block. And so their math block is about an hour and 15 minutes. And so they're doing a little bit of whole group first, and then they have their station rotation. But the reason why they're really trying to zone in on it is so that they can work in smaller groups and send those students that are maybe at the mastery level a little bit onto their pathway, but really honing in on those students that maybe need a little bit more teacher support to master the skill. They also have some videos. That's a great piece too, is if you can either find a good quality video. Our math curriculum piece actually has a really good one. A lot of teachers are making theirs, but if you can front load some of your students that are going to maybe struggle with the concept, if you could front load them, maybe that's what they're watching in a station first, is the front loaded video of it. And then they're coming to you as a teacher so that you can work through problems with them and also work through some of the content that they were just learning in that video. So it's like the ones that need it are getting that skill twice, and you're really getting that time with them, because it's hard to take a class of 25 students and in an hour and 15 meet all of their needs. So it's a great way to get that started too. So building connections plus getting to the students a little bit closer.
Yeah, I love that. I hear kind of like flipping the classroom or modeling ahead and then adjusting it what each student needs to make sure that they're successful and master it. That's awesome. And I will say, as a primary teacher, I loved how you added in the emojis for the channels.
Oh, yeah.
Do those little emojis have a meaning to you, or was it just actually like an emoji for it?
I like to, oftentimes it's me emulating what teachers in my district are doing. And so our teachers have like blue group, yellow group, green group for reading. So I thought this would be a nice little visual, and I could use this a lot. So I could have it in my PowerPoint as to what room they might be going to for that one. If you're new to emojis, here's the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to put room 5. Now I'm on a Windows device. On a Windows device, there's this little Windows key at the bottom of your keyboard. It looks like a window, 4 little square window. I hold it down and then I touch the semicolon and it fires up the emoji keyboard. on a Mac device, I'm going to pop over to my Mac to make sure I don't lie. It's the Command key. I'm going to see. Oh, I'd have to maybe Google it, you know?
I know what it is because I love the emojis as well. It's Control, Command, and P.
Ooh, they really hit it. I have to Google it so many times. I'm down with the Windows one now.
Yes.
Yeah, this is great, but then I'll do my favorite color. I'm going to search for purple. Now I've used all my shapes up, but let me go ahead. Oh, I've got a heart. There we go. So yeah, I love the emojis. You can put them in lots of different places. And another little tip is make sure you check mark that this shows up for your students. I wish by default it would, but if you check mark that, then the students don't have to go click on hidden channels unless you don't want them to see your channels. It's just a little bit easier when they can see that channel sitting there.
Well, awesome. Those are so great tips from, university students all the way down to our kinders and primary kiddos. I think this has just been an amazing amount of information with breakout rooms and teams. And you know what, Eileen, we just really appreciate you.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. Reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. I'd be happy to answer any questions. You can email me. And I'm going to pass it over to you, Holly, for this last slide then.
All right. Well, I will say we are gearing up for the NCCE conference. It is March 17th through the 20th. So be sure to put that in your calendar and also head to the ncce.org website. And there you could even backslash and type in conference 2021 because we are going to have amazing presenters from all around the world. And next week, we actually have Jeannie Magaria. She's going to be coming and she is the opening keynote speaker for NCCE, the conference. So she's going to come in. We're going to have a little Q&A. She's going to give us some interesting things about what she's going to be talking to everybody about. So be sure to check out that link. Go ahead and register for the early bird special. And can't wait to see you guys next Thursday and as well as at the conference. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to ncce.org and we will love to see you guys back here next week. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Eileen.
Have a good night in Florida.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, sweating.